Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm here with two of my partners in James H. Birch LLC. This is Stephen Pierre and Peter Airy. They're partners with me, and they are the developers of this who will be in charge of the construction. They know this kind of end of it inside and out. We've done a number of things lately. We announced recently that we're going to offer $500,000 for rehabbing the ferry terminal so that that place can be cleaned up. And we have long ago, one of the first things that we did was to ask Danny Flaherty, who is a citizen and a longtime resident of New Orleans and well beloved because of his wonderful music in this city, to open another club here for the people of New Orleans, and he agreed to do that. He also told me at the time of all the things that he had done here, one of them was that he had written some songs for a monument that is ready to go, a monument to the freedom. And so in talking about that, here we go. The history has unwound, and Danny is here today to tell you about this monument that we're going to bring to this World Trade Center should we get the bid. And Stephen and Peter will have some words in a little bit, but first we just like to ask Danny O'Flaherty to come up and to tell us about this monument and to sing a couple songs in honor of it.
Well, thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. This is a great opportunity for me to, that vision I have had for all my life, for folk music, and the vision I brought to New Orleans in 1984, for it to be continued with this wonderful opportunity to Danny O'Flaherty Folk World, which I truly believe in all the countries of the world and all the cultures and in folk music. And so I'm very, very excited for Danny O'Flaherty's Folk World to, hopefully with a few prayers and the rosary, it will happen, and it will have the Irish and all the other nationalities in folk music presented at this wonderful establishment. Also, I suppose for years I've been involved with many different music of America, and about say 6 years ago I started to work with the Spirit of Freedom, and for 3 years did a lot of research on the Constitution, and worked with Misha Goshkosh's Wheelie from Esplanade Studios here in New Orleans, worked on the album, and we got the kids from the West Bank, from the ladies of our Visitation of Our Lady on the West Bank in Marrero to sing on these children's songs about America, and it's for adults as well. And it's a wonderful project, certainly a vision of former Supreme Court Justice Warren Burger and others to have this statue, and also the Constitution and the Bill of Rights to be put all over the United States in schools and colleges and public places. And I'm delighted to be part of that project as well, to be here in New Orleans next year if Jim Birch's proposal wins the bid. That's another wonderful part of our history, and there is a great connection with New Orleans going back to the time as well. Historians will tell us. So I'd like to do a song from the theme song of the statue, and it's about America. It's about all of us here today, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. Once upon a time, in a faraway land, kings had all the rights and made slaves of man. But something began to happen as the time went by. A prayer rose up for freedom. Freedom was their cry. Brave hearts began to gather from far across the sea. They'd ride the waves to freedom or take taste of liberty. Many weeks on ships at sea where we no place to raise our heads. We touched the shores of freedom where our dreams had led. We told ourselves America is where we belong. We'll cast our nets and farm our fields to make our nation strong. We called ourselves Americans. With grace we would stand tall. With solemn vow we'd live our lives with liberty for all. With England's chains to bind us, no longer were we free. A call rose up for freedom, their taste for liberty. This new nation would be born amidst the cannon's roar, with Washington to lead them and our country evermore. We told ourselves America is where we belong. We cast our nets and farm our fields to make our nation strong. We called ourselves Americans. With grace we would stand tall. With solemn vow we'd live our lives with liberty for all. We can't forget those heroes who fought and gave their lives. They won the fight, brought you rights. For you, those heroes died. And all of you must carry on, take your place in freedom's song. Live your lives, keep their dreams alive, and keep our nation strong. We called ourselves Americans, it's where we belong. We cast our nets and farm our fields to make our nation strong. We called ourselves Americans. With grace we would stand tall. With solemn vow we'd live our lives with liberty for all. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean, white would fall. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Of course, we're missing the children from the lady over visitation on the West Bank. I guess didn't have time to get them over here today. They're all on holidays anyways. Thank you so much. That's one of the songs on the Spirit of Freedom and the theme song for the presidential statue that will be coming here next year. Also, I suppose a lot of us musicians from New Orleans, I'm with the local musicians here in New Orleans, and we travel, do a lot of traveling for the past 8 years all over the United States, being an ambassador to New Orleans. And it's amazing when I travel to different cities in the United States. I was in Seattle a couple of years back, and it was a Thursday night concert in Seattle, and I think out of the 100 people in the audience, I think there was about 70 from New Orleans. So I suppose Katrina puts some of those folks in many parts of the United States. But the only good thing I can say about it always is you have to look at the positive thing. the food has become much better all over the country. When you get blackened fish now, it's better than it was before Katrina. But I've written a song about Katrina, many songs, and also I had the Irish television to come to New Orleans to do a documentary in Gaelic, which is my first language, and also in English. And back in Ireland, people in Ireland were interested in what was happening here in New Orleans, and they came over from Ireland, and maybe about 5 weeks after Katrina, and we spent a week together here, going through all the different places and reporting back to Ireland and to Europe about what was happening here in our great city. So wrote an album. I didn't come out with it till a year later because I didn't want to be doing everybody's, when these things happen, everybody writes songs. I wanted to wait, and because I wanted this to be about New Orleans. And this song is become an anthem with all my fans here in New Orleans and my friends. Every time, I'm here almost all the time. I'm here more often than I were in any other city in America at the moment. But please God, next year I'll be here all the time. So yeah, I won't have to travel as much from New Orleans in the future. The old woman in this song is New Orleans herself, and she's telling everybody, come on back. And we've been doing that now for the past 8 years. Come on back, and it's all right. The magic is still there, and this song has really become sort of an anthem. And sure, a lot of New Orleans musicians like myself have their own song about New Orleans. This is the Irish one. She slumbers quietly in an ancient mist, memories of kinder days, my sunlight kiss, her flowers all in bloom, and her music played. And in the darkness now, you can hear her say, and it's still there, the magic's there, the magic's there, beyond the gates, beyond the gates, behind the walls. It's in the dream of twilight song within your heart, the secret garden call. She holds a charm that came from another world. Among her alleyways, since the flowers swirl, a city lost in time, though her beauty fades. Within her quiet dream, you can hear her say, and it's still there. That's the chorus. We can sing it. The magic's there, beyond the gates, beyond the gates, behind the walls, behind the walls. It's in the dream, it's in the dream. A twilight song within your heart, within your heart. The secret garden calls, the secret garden calls. She's where the storms of wind and a cruel decay, her heart is broken for people far away. But spring will soon return to the view correct, and from her garden walls you can hear her say, and it's still there, the magic's there, the magic's there, beyond the gates, beyond the gates, behind the walls, in the dream, it's in the dream of Twilight Song, of Twilight Song. Within your heart, the secret garden calls. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. That's it, except for a period of questions, if you have any.
Tell us a little bit about the endeavor that you're trying to get coming to North Lake. A little more about that.
Certainly. The city, the bid for this property, there are 3 bidders currently, and we're one of them. And this will be plus or minus $200 million redevelopment. The building was designed by Edward Durrell Stone, who's one of the great architects of the country. He was an early modernist in this country. He designed great buildings like the GM building in New York, the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C., Bush Stadium up in St. Louis, National Geographic Society, really spectacular assets. This building is emblematic of what he designed. You notice the long, tall piers and the verticality to it. That was one of the main themes of the images of his buildings. It was originally designed as an office building. We'll be converting it into a Valencia hotel, apartment space, some office space, and a couple of special uses, many retail uses. We're working with a number of local entertainers and retail operators who will operate retail establishments, restaurants, and clubs in the building.
What do you think it would add to the community to have your bid win this?
Well, one of the things that we bring is we believe is that this will enliven this space of the city. Spanish Plaza is a beautiful, beautiful plaza. Unfortunately, it's cut off because of this island that sits closed right in the middle of it. When you enliven the retail space, enliven the ground floor, bring the activities of a hotel into the building, into this plaza, you'll have many more people feeding into Spanish Plaza, coming into the building, and give more opportunities for people who come to Spanish Plaza to also do things like go to the top of the building where we'll have a lookout center and things like that.
Do you have a timeline as to when they'll announce the winner?
There's a public hearing on July 30th, next Tuesday, and the selection committee has indicated that within 2 or 3 weeks after that, they'd hope to come to a decision. One party will be selected hopefully after that, and then negotiate what will be a 99-year lease with the city. One of the key aspects to an endeavor like this, of course, is the financial capability to do it, and Peter and I bring 60 years of development experience between us. We built over 6 million square feet, over $1 billion of assets in our careers. We've worked together on assets for over 20 years in Washington, D.C. and other places. And for this particular project right now, we have one fund who will be able to announce. We should have a letter of commitment from them, a memorandum of understanding within a couple of days. And with that, we will have financing for the project to move forward.
Say if you guys are chosen, you win the bid, how long will it take, you think, to get the building up and running?
Certainly. The straight construction period for the building a building of this size, there's half the floor still you have to demolish, and there may be asbestos and things like that have to be abated. But you're probably 18 to 20 months of construction. The period before that is really the period with the city to negotiate a lease, finish up some design work, pull permits with the city, get through approvals and things like that. So we think sometime in 2016 the building will be up and operating, and guests will be in it, and people will be living in it again. We have made a couple of special donations in addition to the statue. We have made a commitment of $500,000, which will go to the city to use for the ferry. We haven't designated how that would be used, but that's in addition. And the special part of our lease, we think, from a financial standpoint for the city, in addition to the 2,500 or so jobs that are created, is that we, over the 99 years of the lease, we pay the city a lease payment every year. The total of those payments is $147 million. There is a CPI escalator. If CPI were to go up at 2% a year, that payment would be $388 million. So it's a lot of money that would go to the city, that would go into the general fund of the city. It would be able to be used for the city for any purposes it saw fit. In addition, of course, at the end of 99 years, they own the building again.
Can you explain the statute?
Yes. So the statue was a statue that was commissioned when Warren Burger was Chief Justice Warren Burger was the head of the Bicentennial Commission for the United States, and they commissioned a statue. It was to be put on the White House lawn when Bush 1 started his second term, and of course he didn't start his second term, so it wasn't put on the Bush lawn on the White House yard. Because of that, it was then put in storage, and it's been in storage for a number of years. The owners of that, through contacts, one person to another, came to us and said, "We see what you're doing in New Orleans. We think there might be an interesting tie-in between the history of the country and what the statue was designed for, and New Orleans history," and that's the reason it's here. It's a monument, and we felt it would be appropriate in the lobby of the building.